Hi, it's Chris Titley here, and on today's episode of Scoreboard, we're joined by Nat Cook in person here in Brisbane, and what has turned out to be a lovely day. It has been raining all morning, but now it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's surprising in the Sunshine State. We are now talking about how good our weather is because we've had a shocker.
It has been non-stop raining, and the backyard is muddy. No one can mow. People are getting sport cancelled all the time. I think we had soccer cancelled the other day as well. And
I know, it's the first time I've ever thought, oh my gosh, an indoor sport, fancy that. Would have, like whether it's basketball, is probably the best one that I've got my daughter in, and it's got a roof.
It's got a roof, and you can play in any conditions. Rain,
and if it's
hail,
too hot,
shine.
If it's too hot, you've got shade and it's air conditioned. I think that basketball is a go-to. Volleyball, of course, indoor volleyball.
Right. Volleyball.
Not beach volleyball.
About volleyball?
Indoor volleyball.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I know a thing or two, but wasn't really.
About beach volleyball?
Beach volleyball more.
Right. Let's, what are we sitting here? We're sitting on the 15th of April, 2025. How's your 2025 been?
It's been a huge start. I turned 50 in January.
Oh,
so,
congratulations.
Yeah, I feel like I've hit a milestone, and I raised my bat and tipped my helmet.
Well, they do the reverse bat these days for the 50. You know, back in the day, they used to put the sort of standing ovation a little bit. Now they just get reverse.
Oh,
and
reverse.
Then 100, they get the...
Okay, well, I better take that photo again and put my reverse bat up because I feel like I'm halfway. So that was January. I had a big party. I went to Fiji for a week and had a fantastic time with my 9-year-old daughter and friends. And then, as we know here in Australia, business doesn't start till February. Kids go back to school.
Melbourne Cup to Australia, sort of thing. Yeah,
kind of. It's a long time, actually. It's like I get the Northern Hemisphere summer, right? So it's our version. February was off to a cracking start, getting everything ready for March delivery, and then Alfred hit. So the world sort of turned upside down I had a big golf day prepared for the Aussie Athlete Fund, and the women's professional golf was back at Sanctuary Cove, and they were going to, the Curry Webb Cup was going to be delivered, and Curry was staying to play in our golf day, and so much going on, and then Alfred hit. So not so good. Mm-hmm. We've spent the last sort of month trying to readjust for some of the things that were supposed to happen in that March time. But otherwise, things look good. Post-Olympic years are always a recalibrate, reboot, even after I've retired. It's been Rio. I went to London.
Yep.
Then I went to Rio as an athlete liaison and didn't get to Tokyo because of COVID. Went to Paris, spent 3 months in Europe going to the Paris Games and also the Paralympics for the first time. So I do run my life in Olympic cycles, and I feel like 2025 is absolutely a recalibration, a reset, and a reignite year towards the end of the year. So I've got a few months up my sleeve.
But a little bit of a different reignite year because with huge announcements happening in Brisbane for 2032. So not exactly just to sit back and 3 years to go. You're heavily involved in 2032 and some big announcements this year, only recently too.
Yeah, well, it's been an interesting 6 months coming out of the back of Paris, and we've had a new IOC president announced, the first ever female out of Africa, swimmer, gold medalist. Zimbabwean, yep. Kirsty Coventry. She has also been chair of our coordination commission for Brisbane 2032 back into the IOC. So she's a very good friend of everyone here in Brisbane 2032. So we're very happy about her appointment as a president. We've got a new Australian Olympic Committee CEO, Mark Abib, was a sport minister federally as well. So that changed. We've seen a local government change into David Crisafulli as the Premier, Tim Mander as our Sport Minister, Jarrah Blay obviously is the DP, and that's the trio that sort of sit across Brisbane 2032. And then, of course, we're now heading into, in 3 weeks' time, a federal election.
Ah, yes, May the 3rd.
Yeah, so all of this coming together is sort of a reset after Paris in our Olympic world. And for Brisbane 2032, after the 100-day review, the local government's 100-day review, we now have a venue, opening ceremony venue. We now have a new National Aquatic Centre for swimming, diving, water polo and artistic swimming. So there's so much excitement there. Hockey got a win with a new legacy venue at the Gold Coast. The tennis centre has had another smaller stadium that's going to be built with 10 to 12 new tennis courts for the games. So there's plenty, and it's been spread out throughout
and the state as well.
The state.
Yes,
so Rocky.
There's a little bit of potential sort of, hello, we're here, how are we going to get involved?
Yeah, so Townsville have got some, they were having some football, soccer preliminaries. They've now got some windsurfing, some sailing. Mackay and Cairns, should we have cricket, have now been earmarked for some cricket. Rocky's got the rowing.
Yep.
Maryborough, big winner. The archery.
Yep. No, sorry. I was thinking of Mooloolaba.
No, Mooloolaba. Sunshine Coast has got the Maroochydore Hub and the Cultural Centre. Yes. Maryborough is going to be a standout with the archers coming into town. So any of the venues that weren't mentioned were because when they were in the initial bid document, they were put in the right place, obviously. So beach volleyball on the Gold Coast and some of the other venues that obviously I'm biased towards beach volleyball and knew where that was going. But mountain biking on the Sunshine Coast, some of that wasn't brought up because it was already in its right spot.
Now, you're one of the most enthusiastic people talking about the Olympics that I've ever heard in my life, and you're a 5-time Olympian. What is it so special about the Olympics?
Well, I was 8 when I had the dream. I was born in Townsville, and my mum was an infant swim teacher, and my dad was a semi-professional footballer for Crystal Palace. So I was sort of had a bit of that sporty gene. I was going to be a sports person, not through them pushing, but just because I grew up in that environment. They always wanted me to be outside, and I was a swimmer at the time when I saw the 1982 Commonwealth Games on TV. And at that point, I saw Lisa Curry get out of the pool, put her Aussie tracksuit on, gold medal round her neck, singing Advanced Australia Fair. And I said, I want to do that. And at the time, I thought, obviously, as a swimmer. I then played every single sport, which is why I'm so passionate about the green and gold in every sport. I tried to play cricket. You couldn't as a girl. So I played Vigoro. I did skateboarding, taekwondo, BMX, everything you could imagine. Every athletics event, every swimming event, and fell in love with the sport of volleyball through a trip to America and Canada. And then as it evolved in beach volleyball on the mat for the Olympics, I obviously went into the 2-man game on the sand. I just have loved it ever since I was 8. I love the striving for excellence. I love the being better every day. I love the strategy. I love the physicality and trying to win. I think I love winning.
You're a competitive person.
Yeah, very competitive. Everything, board games, first in the door, first to brush your teeth, first into bed with my 9-year-old.
You're shoving out the way.
Yeah, elbows, get out of the way.
Hurry up.
Some of it is a motivator to try and get her to move into bed a bit faster. But, there's always a how do you make it better mentality in everything I do, which is very competitive.
And the connection with sport and why sport is so important.
Well, it's health. It's good for your health to move your body mentally and physically. It's good for your health. You can't learn the skills that we need in life anywhere better than on a sporting field. You learn respect for your opposition, yourself, the rules. You learn to win and to lose. The 2 different mechanisms there. You learn to be in a team environment, even if you're an individual athlete. So sometimes our swimmers always say they're in a team because it's the team of dolphins, or a tennis player has a team with a coach and trainers. So you're always learning to interact and have respect and try and be better. And I think sport helps us in every single way. And most people these days say, oh, can you teach my child resilience? I mean, the only way, you can't buy resilience off a shelf. You can't go and get it at the supermarket. The only way to learn resilience is to fail and to get back up. And I think sport teaches you that. It doesn't matter how good you are. If you just watch the Masters and you saw good old Rory. You saw good old Rory go through the ups and downs, even as the best in the world for a very long time. You saw how much it means to people and that your performance, your focus, it can still go pear-shaped. And what do you do next? When the ball goes in the water, or you hit the ball in the net, or you miss your dive, or your start, or your turn, what do you do next? And I think sport teaches you that.
And Rory missed the 18th to win it as well. So then that moment to sort of like the heart sinks and you're going, okay, now I've got to play a foul to pick yourself up to do it.
And to recover from that. I mean, he wears his heart on his sleeve, and I literally woke my mum up to watch every single hole with me on Monday morning here. it was amazing. I've been to the Masters in 2023. I walked around the course. I knew exactly where he was going on the 18th. And for him to miss that putt, uncharacteristic, but for that, he's made that putt over and over and over. But for that opportunity at that moment, obviously too much for him, but thank the Lord, he picked himself up.
Now, you talk about resilience, and I've asked this to a few guests before about winning and losing on the ledger of your competitive life. What do you reckon you are? Have you won more games than you've lost?
No, I've lost more, absolutely lost more.
Yet it's still so fun and addictive.
Yeah, well, the addiction is in the striving to win. And, Roger Federer's speech recently was that he only won 54% of his points. But it was the right ones, and that comes down to your mindset. And the addiction is trying to be better at every single turn. And if you have that mindset, then you'll always be a winner in sport, because you'll always, like Rory 11 times later, or even he said 14 years, because in 2011 he had a 4-shot lead going into the Masters. It wasn't for the Grand Slam, but it was to win the Masters.
Yeah.
You asked Greg Norman about his experience of the Masters. I mean, my golf was my second sport, which is why I'm so passionate about it. I think golf is the equaliser for every athlete, because we can all play together. I can play with my dad, I can play with my mum, and we all have a good round. So I love my golf. But it can never be perfect. Like even Tiger Woods says, there's no perfect round. It's the striving for that which makes it so special.
And when you were striving, what made the teams or the national team pick you? And what were you good at, do you think, that someone else may not have been as good at, and that you made 5 Olympics and you've won an Olympic gold medal? It's about you. What's your superpower?
My superpower is constantly looking for solutions and never giving up. And in the end, it was holding a posture of winning. So winning, I try and teach my athletes or anybody I talk to in business or life today, is winning isn't on the scoreboard. Winning is in your mindset, your attitude, your posture. And I want to be able to look at my 9-year-old daughter on the soccer pitch or in the taekwondo arena or playing tennis, and without looking at the scoreboard, think she's winning. Now, how do you display that? That's an attitude, it's a posture. And shoulders back, head up, smile, breathing. If you watch Rory still couldn't breathe after he won. It was that intense for him and overwhelming. So managing your breath, managing the situation, that was my superpower. Being 10 points down, and you could look at me and go, wow, she's winning. Oh, no, she's not. Even though it took a lot to get to that point, a lot of training mentally, building the belief, backing the training, and being able to win even if the scoreboard wasn't showing that is pretty special. So what someone saw in me back in the beginning, I was 18 years old, the best beach volleyballer in the country at the time. Her name was Anita Palm, and she was looking for a partner for the 1996 Olympics, the first time it was in the Games, and she came into a venue at QE2 Stadium, and I was playing indoor volleyball, and she saw a couple of hundred girls playing, and she picked me. So I think it was my attitude, my posture, my never say die, discipline, fight for the ball, even if we weren't winning.
You mentioned about no such thing as being perfect, and improving all the time. Were you a person when you maybe prepared really well and things didn't go your way, you sort of beat yourself up and sort of stewed on the moment for a bit, or do you learn over time that things don't go your way, but that's okay, keep going?
Yeah, that takes a long time, and you can sit there and tell a young person that that's the thing to do, don't stew on it, get over it. But until you actually feel it and go through it and understand what happens if you do stew on it, the result and the probable outcome, if you've stewed on it, is often not going to help you. You have to be able to release it. It takes a lot of practice. You have to feel it. You can't push the emotion aside, so express it. Sometimes that's in anchors, which is a fist pump, a clap, a slap of the...
Or the other way around, a slam of the sand or something.
Yes, yeah. Or you move your foot. You find a trigger to release that.
And then it's gone.
And then it's gone.
It's hard. I reckon it'd be really hard.
It's hard. sometimes for us, we had sunglasses to wipe, we had sand to get off us, we had lines to clean. So you'd find something that I knew that if Kerry was walking, took her sunglasses off and wiped her brow, she was getting rid of something emotionally. And so you give her the space. And I knew there were other times we'd have to go over and high five and re-engage energetically to keep her head up. And she knew what she had to do to help me. So not only do you have to help yourself, but now you got to look for your partner in a game of two-a-side beach volleyball. But sometimes you've got to go through that. In the beginning, I wasn't as good at it. I'd get angry, I'd get frustrated, I'd drop my head. And they were skills just as important as the dig, set and spike, and you had to practice them in training and in competition.
I was going to say about the physical preparation, the skills, the reps they talk of, but then also the mental side of things. And you've also got a partner to deal with, so you're in it too. How important was it for you to keep your head right during those key moments and key competitions in regards to mental strength?
I think that was a difference in Sydney. So in Atlanta in 96, Kerry and I came third, and I personally went through a mental implosion. I couldn't dig myself out of the hole I created really early on in the semi-final. I just thought, oh my gosh, they're too good for us. I'm not good enough. How do I get out of this? What if we lose? All of the negative emotional thoughts. And then had to build myself back up for the bronze medal. Fortunately, I did. There's a whole lot of story behind that, but Kieran Perkins was behind. Watching someone be successful helps. So Kieran won the 1500 metre freestyle from the lane 8 when Daniel Kowalski had qualified lane 4, and no one thought Kieran could do it, and his performance and then his speech after was enough to kind of put the wind back in my sails. Yeah, so obviously having Kieran winning and putting the wind back in my sails enabled me to get back and win bronze the next day in Atlanta. We'd played 3 American teams along the way. We had another US team for the bronze, and that boxed them out of winning a medal. So they weren't very happy with us. Brazil came first and second, and we came third. And then because of the implosion mentally I'd had against Brazil in the semi-final, I knew there was some big work to be done. And it wasn't about dig, set and spike. It was about that 6 inches between your ears. And I found a success coach. His name was Keurig Ashley. We'd had the volleyball coach technically. And I said, Steve, it wasn't technically a problem. It was mentally. So we found Keurig Ashley, the success coach for the mind. And he would come to the side of the court and he would stand there. And every time I dropped my shoulders when I did something wrong, he would kick me in the butt energetically or physically, tell you to lift, tell you to pull your shoulders back. I said, but I just hit it out. He said, that's okay. If you don't stand up we talked at the front of the pod about posture. He said, if you haven't got the good winning posture, how are you expecting to win the next point? Because you've just sent your head into the sand, which is what I did in Atlanta. So we were constantly head in the sand, head out of the sand. And the quicker I could do that meant the better recovery for the next point. So it's not about the mistake. It's about how you recover from the mistake. And that's where all the training was. So the dig, set, spike came over time. We all did repetitions all over the world. And it's what we did with the 6 inches between our ears that mattered. And Keurig trained us to release that quickly, release it with triggers. I would rub my Olympic ring underneath my ring, which was get rid of that. You focused on what's next, which is getting to Olympic finals and winning Olympic medals. So,
did you realise how big the moments were in your head, or were you just in the zone?
Kerry and I both dealt with things differently. She called it a glass cone of silence, like Maxwell Smart. Whereas I was like in a symphony orchestra and I was orchestrating. By the time I got to Sydney, I was orchestrating the crowd. Whereas in Atlanta, I felt suffocated. But all of the training with Keurig was to look up, shoulders back, and really manage my own emotions through orchestrating the crowd. So if the crowd cheered, I would get them to cheer louder. If they booed, I'd get them to boo louder. And it didn't matter which country we were in. It was all about managing and orchestrating energy. So Kerry would stay really narrow focus. I would talk to the referee, the crowd, and get really good at narrowing back in for the point. But if I stayed too narrow, I would start to tell myself too many stories and implode in. You really have to understand your own personality and find the best ways forward for yourself. And not everyone in the team's the same. So we had to respect each other's differences. And I tried not to throw rocks at Kerry's glass cone, because otherwise that would shatter and then that wouldn't help her.
That would upset the chemistry as well. And then the enormous emotion of winning the gold medal, your dream after Atlanta. What were the feelings? I mean, it's probably a question you get asked 1,000 times, but I'm interested. Was there more, like a bit like Rory yesterday? You didn't really know what to say.
Yeah, I viscerally felt Rory's pain on every single shot that, and I'd say to him, put your head up, I'd be yelling at the TV, right? Because I genuinely, when someone's on the line for a Grand Slam and, Tiger Woods was the last one to do it 25 years ago, you want to see him, it means so much to him.
He felt it?
Oh, absolutely.
He was getting like, oh my goodness, I'm here, as opposed to like, don't worry, it's just another part.
No, he didn't. That we could tell by the 4 double bogeys that he wasn't in that. And what it meant to him, asking Jack Nicklaus the weeks before about how to play every golf shot, and the fact that he could ride his emotions, it meant every single thing to him. So for us, the same thing going into Bondi. You're in front of a home crowd. We took 10 days to try and understand the home crowd vibe, because when Pat Rafter taught us that when you're in a home event and make a good shot, the roar is amazing, like nothing you've ever heard. But when you make a bad shot, it's like suffocating. Like everyone goes, oh.
It's like the golfing holes, the 16th at Phoenix, is it? Or 17th?
Yeah, like absolutely.
If you miss the green, you're a boo.
That's right.
All the way, there's big cheers, right?
That's right.
I think someone got a hole in one recently.
So managing that within your own head, it's loud enough, but now you've got everyone else to do that too. So we had to manage that in Bondi. So by the time we got to be fair, our gold medal match was the semi-final, which was the same one 4 years earlier. So if we knew if we won that, we were better off. We were silver or gold. If we'd have lost that, we were back in the same spot, and we weren't going to do that 4 years. Like I remember looking up at the sky in Bondi when we were 3-0 down in the semi-final. The Brazilian team had come out on fire with 3 aces. And I remember looking up to the sky going, not today. This is not happening again. And sort of dug in. And I think we won 15-6. We smashed them, played really well. We focused in. And then, of course, you wake up the next day and you've got to get into your gold medal match against the number 1 Brazilian team. And different game plan, different strategy, different techniques, all of that had to come into play. So we knew we were the underdog. The Brazilian team, we'd played 17 times and only beaten once. We, on paper, shouldn't have won. But we'd been building this posture and belief and strategy with all of our coaches that they hadn't seen before. And it delivered absolutely magically on the day. All the stars aligned. We were behind a lot of the way, but we kept our shoulders back and our head up, and we just kept digging our heels in, and we were not going to let anything get in the way of our fairy tale.
That morning, did you visualise winning?
I didn't sleep. I visualised the whole night. So you close your eyes and you try and get to sleep would have been a good thing, but I could just...
Did you wake up? Well, not wake up, because you barely wake up and go, that was a shit sleep.
Well, ironically,
that's not a good preparation.
That's right, not a good preparation. But at that point, it didn't matter the sleep. The adrenaline kicks in. There's 2 philosophies. You focus on your strengths, which rise the tide, or you go in and you try and fix your weakness, which will rise the tide, right? So we were all a philosophy of strength. So the repetition in our head was our strongest shots and our strongest plays and our strongest strategy. And then, ironically, Kerry and I both had recited winning speeches. We didn't know. We're laying in the bed tossing and turning, and I didn't want to try and wake her, and she didn't want to try and wake me.
You wrote them down?
No, we're just in our head. It's like, who am I going to thank?
Okay.
What we're going to win this thing. And who am I going to thank? And make sure you don't forget the volunteers and the parents. So I'd recited the winning speech as well as the strategy we were going to do, and it just felt like we were destined to walk the path. So it was pretty special.
I've chatted to a few of the water polo girls, and the enormous semi-final they had recently by beating America. But then the hard part, knowing that they've got a medal, picking themselves up to play Spain in the gold medal match was hard. And they ended up losing, but they got the silver medal. How did you feel going into that match game? We've already beaten Atlanta. We're good. I'm getting a silver medal.
Well, that didn't come. Laurie Lawrence has a stuff the silver, go for gold mentality, and I sort of grew up with Laurie's era and being a swimmer as a young kid. Was in the Lawrence Raleigh Swim School in Townsville, and Vince Raleigh was Zach's Double D Cook's coach, winning gold last Olympics and silver this time. So the stuff the silver, go for gold. We didn't even contemplate silver. Part of our strategy was surrounding ourselves with gold, everything in our life, from gold sheets, gold toaster, gold boxer shorts, gold Ugg boots, gold watch, gold sunglasses, gold cars. I even washed in Palmolive gold soap. So we had this really...
Geez, there's a good promotion there for...
Absolutely. I know I should have got them as a sponsor. Yeah, that's right. But it was probably the cheapest soap on the market at 50 cents a cake. So they absolutely... I would wash in Palmolive gold soap, would sing Advanced Australia Fair, obsessively almost, not just once. Like this was... we would take the soap with us overseas, like when we travelled, so that it became part of our DNA. And so there was no look back at silver. There was only, we did have people say, well, what if you'd have won silver? Well, I would have painted it gold, because it was that kind of, when a 100-metre sprinter runs, they run 110 metres. And that's what it really felt like for us, to the point where subconsciously we were memorising a winning speech. So we weren't going to worry about the putt that fell short or the ball that fell short. It was, okay, well, that's what happened. What do we do next? And there was no thought of, we'd worked too hard. We'd 4 years between Olympics. There wasn't time to go, oh, well, we'll go next year.
That's the hard part of the Olympics as well.
That's right.
NRL games next week.
Next year, next season. No, none of that. Like 4 years to get ready, to keep your mind, body, spirit, and your finances. Like, it's not cheap to represent Australia in sports where there's no financial gain. And so you're like, no, got to do it now. And ultimately you put that urgency on it, and you lift yourself up to a level of excellence in every single action. And we just went for it.
Going to touch on the finances now. Aussie Athlete Fund, something that's deeply passionate for you, and helping athletes empower themselves in terms of fundraising and getting support from people. I'd love to deep dive into it.
Yeah, it's something that's very special to me. I did 5 Olympic Games, as you said, and fundraised the whole time, not just the beginning. Like, even as a young 15-year-old volleyballer trying to raise money to represent Queensland, my parents couldn't afford it. Ultimately, at one point, said, you have to stop. And I said, what do you mean we have to stop? Because as a kid, everything got paid for, and then all of a sudden it became too much. My grandparents had been paying the whole time, and all of a sudden everyone had run out of money. And they didn't want to have to tell me that, but at the end of the day, there was nothing there. So I told my coach, called my volleyball coach, I said, I can't do it anymore. Mum and Dad don't have the money. He said, oh, no, you can't stop yet. We're going to have a massive fundraising drive. So it's not enough to be good on the court. You've actually now got to go and raise your money to get you there.
All the training, all this stuff.
Yeah, and this is back in the day.
School as well.
Yeah, school. I was a school student at the time, when you're doing car washes and chook raffles and chocolate drives and lamington drives and bake sales and meat, all of those days. Fortunately, fast forward all these years, there's a modernised fundraising methods, which we help our next generation of athletes with. But the fundraising drive that the coach came back with was a Yatala pie drive.
Oh, so who doesn't love a Yatala pie?
Exactly. So it funded my first trip to Tasmania. I sold 486 Yatala pies and collected half the dividend.
486, very precise number.
486. I knew I needed to sell 400 to get there, and I just smashed it. So I had some spending money. So that taught me the fundraising techniques, and
And
fund.
you do need spending money as well. Like,
You
it's
do.
not as if you can't go to a trip and you're like, oh,
No,
right, okay.
so I just sit in
Yeah.
my room and wait for, you got to buy your food.
All this stuff adds up. Right?
Yeah. So now in today's, so that was the whole 20 years. That was my beginning. And then after we won a gold medal, we still had to, you've got to raise the bar again. You've got to get more specialised coaches. Technology was coming in and we had to get the tech. You now want to travel and a bit more style. And so the costs, it's $500,000 to run a beach volleyball team. Where are you going to get that you're not winning that level of money. So we'd find sponsors, and fundraising is not just a raffle ticket. Fundraising is finding all funds to make your sporting dreams come true, whether that's jobs or sponsorship or now influencers and social media is all available. So the Aussie Athlete Fund was born to help the next generation through to 32, because I was getting notes from athletes and parents saying, I can't do this. I've just got a $12,500 bill to send my water polo child to Europe, and a $16,000 bill to go to play hockey, and all of those sports, from taekwondo to volleyball to table tennis, from parents to athletes reaching out saying, can you help? So that was why I started the Aussie Athlete Fund, to teach, provide an opportunity for funding opportunities. So I help raise the money. We match their efforts. We teach them the techniques, new modernised ways through the Australian Sports Foundation with tax-deductible pages, all of that. So that's what we do. And corporates are involved, and philanthropists are involved, and small business owners that want to just help an athlete get through to not only Brisbane but beyond.
And grassroots sports are very expensive as well, from just a participation point of view. I always thought to myself, would there be a billionaire or someone out there that would fund that? With inflation and whatnot, it becomes a sort of a bit of a situation where you give it up. Versus, and you might have seen some stories of people.
They just stop. When you got to buy a $20,000 bike or a kite foil, or so unfortunately I chose a sport that didn't need much equipment. I didn't even need shoes.
Right? I had Ash Wen on. She was bobsledding.
Well, that costs a lot of money for your sled, and not only for the sled, but to transport the sled.
Transport, the logistics of it all.
And if you're a pole vaulter, you have to send your pole. Your poles sometimes cost more money than your ticket on the plane. Yeah. It is a lot of money. So how do you, like I said before, you focus on trying to get good enough at your sport, and it's hard these days to be the best in the world. It's coming down to microseconds. It's coming down to, look at our Matildas, to have to even win at that level. It's just getting harder and harder. So how do you then have to find the money? We would love to find a billionaire, and I'm looking every day. Yeah. So it's like fossils, finding them.
I mean, I don't know what the quantum value of funding kids sport in Australia is. I'm sure it's a lot.
It's a lot.
But I'm sure there's someone out there that's thinking that they want to be a good person in society. I think there'll be a lot of happy parents.
Yeah, well, my philosophy at the Aussie Athlete Fund is I don't want an athlete in the green and gold, so they've been picked to represent Australia, to ever have to stop and say, I couldn't go because I couldn't afford it. That should not happen in our country. I couldn't go because I wasn't fast enough, or I wasn't picked, or unfortunately I had an injury.
My shoulders were down and I didn't have the right attitude.
Yeah, but in that then that's all something else. But to say I didn't have enough money to fund my sporting dream in this country is not the words that I want to hear.
No. And how many athletes have sort of come across to you, and what are you doing in regards to, I suppose, the progress thus far and the feedback you're getting?
Yeah, well, every year we started last year with our signature program called the $1 Million Challenge, where we find 100 athletes. They apply through the fund on the website, AussieAthleteFund.com, and we take them and we work hard to match them with 100 businesses, geographically or with the same values or the same love of the sport they're in. And not only matching them with a business helps with their funding, because the goal is to get 100 athletes, 10,000, which is usually the cost of a tour overseas, although prices are getting more expensive, but 10's a good start. So not only funding opportunity for cash, but also networks, because often we hear our athletes say, I can't ask uncle or auntie or grandma or our friends or the people in the street for any more money. And so it opens up a new network. It opens up an opportunity to tell their sporting story to new people, and then asking them to share that amongst their network So it provides this belonging, because imagine a trampoline gymnast or a diver, there's not a club, there's not a clubhouse, there's not a stadium, there's not a community. And one of the things we're doing with the Brisbane Bullets is they're helping support a kayaker and a water polo player to enable them into the community and in the environment. So we're trying to match with our pro sports as well, so that they can help uplift some of our next generation in the green and gold.
And there's a lot of expenses that come with equipment, like shoes and even things like people doing Pilates and yoga and all these things that add up. And if any businesses are out there to support people, that just every little bit helps, right?
Every little bit helps. It's amazing. So come and say hi, and I'm happy to see how you can support the next generation and share the journey. Imagine being a supporter of the next BMX racer that's going to win gold medals like Saya, or our next skateboarder like Arissa True. We've got those in our program, and we're trying to teach them and their parents how to financially be sustainable on this journey.
Going back to your youth and a younger Nat Cook, some advice to give to younger athletes at the moment that maybe are chasing their dream?
Well, there's so many pieces of advice. If I to stay,
things have changed a little bit though, in terms of when you were that age, in regards to specialisation and training and data and social media and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, there's a lot of changes, and I'm encouraging my 9-year-old to play as many sports as she can. So the earlier that you can play different sports to learn different skill sets, hand-eye coordination, teamwork, different pathways in the brain that can help. Like, I was a big martial artist, taught me discipline. It taught me how to break boards and accelerate through boards. That ultimately is how I accelerated as a spike through a volleyball, right? So all of that helps. So the more experience you have in different sports, the more you can relate it to the one you choose or the one that chooses you. So play as many sports as you can early on until a sport chooses you or you choose a sport. And then you will do the repetitions physically, because the coach will make sure you do. It's all in the mindset. So start that early. Start listening to Audible. Start listening to Audible in some journeys of athletes gone before. Michael Jordan, Greg Norman.
There's a lot of Netflix documentaries out there as well. Yeah.
Like they were big. Court of Gold, the US basketball team. All of that. Michael Johnson was a runner. Now, there was only men back in my day that were my role models, but now there's so many women too. The Ash Bardys. My daughter wants to be like Ash Barty. Tasaya Sakabara, the BMX rider.
Ali Brigginshaw I've interviewed as well.
Absolutely. All of those amazing women to watch for the young girls. Sam Kerrs to Ellie Carpenter's to Mackenzie Arnold's. So find, that's the advice, right? Find someone to look up to and emulate, and not emulate them, but their characteristics. What makes them so good? And try and build that into your own authentic, genuine DNA, because you're going to be unique, but build on those characteristics that make people great.
And I've got a question around advice for parents now, because I do see that parents at different ranges of enthusiasm levels when kids play sport, from go get them, go have some fun, doesn't matter about winning or losing, etc., to potentially irate parents that are getting involved and wanting to be experts and maybe even, disrespecting the game or the officials.
Yeah, it's a broad spectrum there. And initially, support your child's interests and dreams. Is never squash the dream. Like my 9-year-old wants to be like Ash. Yep. Great, so go get it. We read her book. We want to be like her. All the way, even to the day she decides that tennis isn't for her, or she stops for whatever reason. She won't stop because of money, if I've got anything to do with it. But whatever the reason is, support the journey the whole way with the enthusiasm. And it's their journey. So let them experience it. It's not all going to be roses. I had many more falls than I had
more losses.
Yep. That's part of the learning. It's part of the resilience. So get out of the way. For parents, be there supporting, cheering, at all times, not just when they're winning, but can you cheer for them when they're not and cheer for them if they have a loss? The hardest point for my mum and dad was, what do they say when I lose? And they'd all stand there in dead silence and not know what to say. And they feel like they're treading on eggshells. So have a conversation. Ask your child, what would you like me to say if it doesn't go to plan? Not after they've lost, but at the dinner table or something. And it might just, they want a hug. They want a high five. They want you to go and...
They also might want you to stay away for 2 minutes and then they're back.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or, they want a special piece of food, a hamburger or something, right? It's just, all of that is what it's going to take. It's a long journey. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And just be there to support.
Good. 2 more questions. One is the scoreboard moment, which is a moment in your life which is pretty defined. You can take a Minty's moment, you can take a Kodak moment, and that it sort of changed or pivoted your life, and it's something very vivid.
Well, it is called the scoreboard, right? And I do mention that I said winning isn't on the scoreboard, it's in the mind. But if you take it to the scoreboard, it was our gold medal win, the last point. It was a game, it's a best of 3 sets. We'd won the first set, first to 12. So it changed the rules, ironically. So I'm going to go there on, they changed the rules for the final of the Sydney 2000 Olympic beach volleyball to be best of 3 sets. We'd never played best of 3 sets. We'd only ever had 1 set. We were on a different score to what it is now in the modern day. So first to 12, not win by 2. Normally you win by 2, first to 15. So we won the first set 12-11, vivid on the scoreboard, and then we won the second set 12-10. And that's the scoreboard. I see it at Bondi Beach on top of the stadium. Cook, Pothast, 12-10, 12-11, 12-10. That's my favourite scoreboard ever.
And when you meet someone from New South Wales and you say, oh, yeah, where do you live? And they say Bondi, how does that feel? Does it trigger memories, or is it now do you go back there to 12-10 every time you hear the word Bondi?
Every time. Sand between my toes, wind in my hair. I can smell the ocean. Kerry and I celebrate every year on September 25th, 2000. We were famous for 4 hours until Catherine Freeman won, but that's all good. We're on the same day as Catherine Freeman. So we were at Bondi Beach as she was getting ready for the track at Homebush. I put myself there regularly. Kerry goes down to the beach every September 25th. And this year's our 25th anniversary, so we will be flying the whole team in, and we'll be celebrating hard because COVID hit in 2020 when it was our 20-year anniversary, and we were going to celebrate. So we'll be celebrating
5 years later, or 5 years harder. Now, Jim Wilson talked about you being one of the iconic sporting moments, and this is a question I asked, and maybe it is your moment. What's your favourite sporting moment, maybe not besides yourself?
Yeah, well, obviously that is my favourite moment personally.
You were in it, yeah,
I was in it.
I've got heaps. I'm a punter and I sit on the sidelines,
Well, I just put a LinkedIn post up of what's your sporting dream, right? What you want to go and see? What
your bucket list?
Your bucket list. I've been very lucky. I've been to a lot of things. In Paris last year, my daughter, my wife, and I got to watch the US men's basketball team play France in the final for the gold medal.
Steph Curry just stood up with about 6 minutes to go and just
decided to lights out, right? LeBron James had his gold shoes on. Now, you heard the story about gold, and the gold, my gold stuff.
Shampoo and all that stuff.
All of that. Yep. So my daughter knows that story, has everything in the house. We still have gold as remnants of our time.
Just need to start a brand with gold something.
That's right.
Gold to you. We'll buy it.
That's what we should do. That's exactly what we did. Buy everything, and all my friends did. The point is, so LeBron came out with gold shoes. My daughter came and said, Mum, is he wearing those gold shoes because you did? I said,
isn't that
of course, my dear. Yeah. That's and her name's Jordan, named after Michael.
Yes.
So that was my favourite sporting moment, watching.
What a great moment that was as well. But not for the French, obviously.
Yeah.
They were getting close. They played France, didn't they?
They did play France, and they got close. They smelt it.
Did you see Wembanyama in real life?
I did. I saw him for real life. To be that close in those big moments.
What a great sporting moment. Nat Cook, thank you so much for being on Scoreboard today, and I appreciate you coming in person, telling your story from your early days to the various Olympics to how you're helping athletes now. Looking forward to keeping in touch, following the progress of the Aussie Athlete Fund, and for those out there, support where you can.
Thanks, Chris. Love the scoreboard. And yeah, I'd love to get our next generation of Aussie athletes maybe with me on the next podcast we do and see what their scoreboard moments are.
Yeah, I agree. Let's do it.
Okay, high five.